Naomi never imagined that the man who abandoned her 8 years ago would become her only hope for survival. When a powerful mafia boss walks into a free clinic and locks eyes with the daughter he never knew existed, a little girl who hums the same Italian lullaby his dead mother once sang, his carefully guarded world shatters in an instant. She thought she could protect her child alone, but when violent men kick down her door and bullets start flying, Naomi is forced to accept help from the one person she swore she'd never forgive. What she doesn't know is that his half-brother is already planning to destroy them both, and the most dangerous enemy isn't the one holding the gun. It's the one who knows exactly where your heart is hiding. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me where you're from. Because this story of second chances and deadly secrets is about to take a turn no one sees coming. The clinic smelled like bleach and old magazines. Naomi sat in a plastic chair that wobbled every time she shifted her weight. Her daughter Lucia lay curled against her chest, burning up like a small furnace. "It's okay, baby," Naomi whispered, pressing her lips to Lucia's forehead. "We're almost done." But they weren't almost done. They'd been waiting 3 hours. Naomi had $43 in her wallet. The clinic charged $50 for the visit, plus whatever the medicine would cost. She'd already done the math 6 different ways, hoping somehow the numbers would change. They didn't. Lucia whimpered, a soft sound that broke Naomi's heart into smaller pieces. The little girl hadn't said a word in 2 years, not since the night Naomi's ex-boyfriend had thrown a plate across the room and it shattered against the wall beside Lucia's head. Now, at 7 years old, Lucia only hummed one tune over and over. Some old Italian melody Naomi didn't know the name of. "Blake?" A nurse appeared in the doorway, looking tired. "Lucia Blake?" Naomi stood too fast. The room tilted. She hadn't eaten since yesterday morning. They followed the nurse down a narrow hallway. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Lucia's small hand gripped Naomi's shirt. The doctor was young and kind. He checked Lucia's temperature, looked in her throat, listened to her chest. "It's a pretty bad infection," he said gently. "She needs antibiotics, strong ones." "How much?" Naomi's voice came out smaller than she meant it to. The doctor glanced at his chart. "With the visit fee and prescription, you're looking at around 200. The number hit Naomi like a fist. "I don't have that." The doctor's expression softened. "We have a payment plan." "I can't do a payment plan. I work 3 part-time jobs and I'm still behind on rent." Naomi felt tears burning behind her eyes. She refused to let them fall. "Isn't there something cheaper?" The doctor started to answer, but someone knocked on the door. A man stepped inside. He wore all black, black jacket, black shirt, black pants. A surgical mask covered the lower half of his face, but his eyes were visible. Dark eyes, almost black, sharp and careful. "Excuse me," the doctor said. "This is a private—" The man held up a hand. Then he pulled out a wallet and handed the doctor 5 crisp $100 bills. "This covers her visit and medicine," the man said. His voice was low and steady. "Whatever's left is a donation." Naomi stared. "Wait. I can't—" The man turned those dark eyes on her. For a second, neither of them moved. Then he looked down at Lucia. He went completely still. Lucia stared back at him, her fevered eyes half open. She hummed that tune, soft and sad. The man's hand trembled. He turned and walked out without another word. The medicine worked fast. By the time Naomi got Lucia home that night, the fever had already started to break. Their apartment was small and cramped, 2 rooms in a building that smelled like mold and fried food. The lock on the front door didn't work right. Naomi had to jiggle the key 3 times before it clicked. Inside, she could hear her neighbor shouting through the thin walls. Lucia flinched. "It's okay," Naomi murmured, guiding her daughter to the mattress on the floor. "They didn't have a proper bed. Just Mr. Garcia, he's loud, but he won't hurt us." Lucia didn't look convinced. Naomi tucked the blanket around her, then dug through her purse for the bottle of antibiotics. That's when she found it. A small white card. It hadn't been there before, she was sure of it. She turned it over. On one side, an address was written in neat black ink. On the other side, just 4 words. "Come, if you want her safe." Naomi's hands started shaking. She thought about the man in the clinic, his dark eyes, the way he'd frozen when he saw Lucia, the way his hand had trembled. She shoved the card into her pocket and tried to forget about it. 2 days later, Naomi lost her job at the diner. "You've missed too many shifts," her manager said, not even looking at her. "I got a business to run. My daughter was sick," I explained. "And I explained when I hired you. This ain't a charity." Naomi walked out into the cold Chicago afternoon with her last paycheck in her hand. $68. Rent was due in 5 days. She owed $300. She walked the 20 blocks back to her apartment because she couldn't afford the bus. Her feet ached, her chest felt tight. When she turned onto her street, she saw Lucia sitting on the front steps, alone. Naomi's heart stopped. She ran. "Lucia, baby, what are you doing out here?" Lucia looked up at her with those big brown eyes. She pointed at the door. It was open. Someone had broken the lock. Naomi grabbed Lucia's hand and pulled her behind her. "Stay close." The apartment was a mess. Drawers yanked open, clothes thrown everywhere. Whoever had been here was looking for something, or maybe they were still here. Naomi heard a sound from the bedroom. She grabbed the kitchen knife from the counter and held it in front of her, even though her hands were shaking so hard she could barely grip it. A man stepped into the doorway. He was big. Tattoos covered his arms. His smile was ugly. "There you are," he said. Naomi pushed Lucia behind her. "Get out. You owe money, sweetheart. Your old man borrowed from the wrong people before he skipped town. That debt, it's yours now. I don't owe you anything." The man took a step forward. "That's not how this works," Lucia screamed. It was the first sound she'd made in 2 years that wasn't humming. The man lunged forward. Naomi swung the knife. She didn't think, she just moved. The blade caught his arm. He cursed and stumbled back. Then the front door exploded inward. Another man appeared, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in black, the same man from the clinic. He moved like violence was a language he spoke fluently. One punch, and the tattooed man went down hard. Blood spattered across the floor. The man in black didn't stop. He kept hitting over and over until the intruder stopped moving. Lucia buried her face in Naomi's side. Naomi couldn't breathe. The man in black finally stopped. He stood slowly, breathing hard. His knuckles were split and bleeding. He turned to Naomi. "You're not safe here," he said. "Who the hell are you?" "Someone who's trying to help." "I don't need—" "Look at her." He pointed at Lucia, who was trembling. "Look at your daughter and tell me she's safe." Naomi looked down. Lucia's face was pale. Her eyes were wide and terrified. Naomi felt something crack inside her chest. "If you come with me," the man said quietly, "I'll keep you both safe. No questions, no conditions, just safety." "And why would you do that?" The man stared at her for a long moment. Then he looked at Lucia again. "Because she deserves better than this," he said. And maybe it was the exhaustion, or the fear, or the way Lucia's hand clutched her shirt. Maybe it was all of it. But Naomi nodded. The car was expensive, black leather seats, no sound except the engine. Lucia sat between them in the back seat, her small body pressed against Naomi's side. She hadn't let go since they left. The man drove without speaking. Naomi studied him in the dim light. Strong jaw, dark hair, a scar along his temple that disappeared into his hairline. "What's your name?" she finally asked. He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Dante." The name sounded familiar. She couldn't place it. They drove out of the city, past the buildings and streetlights, into an area where trees lined the road and houses were hidden behind gates. Finally, Dante turned down a long driveway. The estate appeared like something from a movie. Stone walls, iron gates, gardens that probably cost more to maintain than Naomi made in a year. "This is where you live," she whispered. Dante didn't answer. He parked in front of the house. Another man appeared, older, lean, with careful eyes. "Enzo," Dante said. "Help them inside." Enzo nodded. He opened Naomi's door and offered his hand. She ignored it and climbed out on her own, pulling Lucia with her. Inside, the house was even more overwhelming. Marble floors, high ceilings, paintings that looked old and expensive. A woman appeared from a side hallway. She was in her 60s, grey hair pulled back, wearing a simple dress and apron. "Mama Julia," Dante said. "Show them to the guest room." The woman smiled warmly at Naomi and Lucia. "Come, dear. You both look exhausted." Naomi followed her up a grand staircase. Every step felt surreal. The guest room was bigger than her entire apartment. A king-sized bed dominated the space. There was a bathroom attached, marble counters, a tub that could fit 3 people. "I'll bring some clothes," Mama Julia said gently. "And food. The little one needs to eat." She disappeared before Naomi could thank her. Lucia tugged on Naomi's hand. "I know, baby, this is a lot." Naomi knelt down, brushing her daughter's curls back. "But we're okay. I promise." Lucia hummed that tune again. Naomi closed her eyes and held her daughter close. An hour later, there was a knock on the door. Naomi opened it. Dante stood in the hallway, changed into clean clothes. His knuckles were bandaged. "We need to talk," he said. Naomi glanced back at Lucia, who was curled up on the bed, finally asleep. She stepped into the hallway and closed the door softly. "Why are we here?" she asked. Dante leaned against the wall. He looked tired. "You needed help. You don't even know me." "I know enough." "What does that mean?" Dante stared at her for a long moment. His jaw worked like he was trying to find the right words. "How old is she?" he finally asked. Naomi's stomach dropped. "That's none of your business." "How old, Naomi?" Her name on his lips sent a shock through her. "How do you know my name?" "Answer the question." "7. She's 7 years old." Dante's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Pain. Recognition. "We met before," he said quietly. 8 years ago. A hotel bar in downtown Chicago. Naomi's breath caught. She remembered. A business conference she'd been working at as a server. Late night, after her shift. She'd sat at the bar for one drink before heading home, and a man had sat beside her. Dark eyes, strong hands, a voice that made her feel safe. They'd talked for hours, about nothing and everything. He'd made her laugh, made her forget, just for a little while, how hard everything was. One night. That's all it had been. And in the morning he was gone. No number, no note, just gone. "That was you," she whispered. Dante nodded. "You left." "I did." "Why?" His jaw tightened. "Because I wasn't supposed to care. I had rules, lines I didn't cross, and sleeping with the help didn't cross a line." The words came out sharper than she meant them to, but she didn't take them back. Dante looked at her, and for a second she saw regret flash across his face. "I'm sorry," he said, "for leaving, for not—" He stopped. "I'm sorry." Naomi felt her throat tighten. "She's your daughter." It wasn't a question. Dante didn't deny it. "I didn't know. Would it have mattered?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. "You need to leave now," Naomi said, her voice shaking. "We'll stay tonight, but in the morning we're gone." She turned to go back into the room. "You can't go back," Dante said. "Watch me. That man I beat tonight, he'll have friends. They'll come looking for you. Then I'll move. I'll figure it out." "Naomi." Her name again. Softer this time. "Look at me." She didn't want to, but she did. Dante's eyes were filled with something she couldn't name. Guilt, fear, something else. "She's not safe anywhere else," he said. "And neither are you." Naomi wanted to argue, wanted to tell him she'd been taking care of herself and Lucia just fine for 7 years without him. But it wasn't true. She was drowning, had been for years, and he was offering her a lifeline, even if she hated that she needed it. 1 week, she said. "That's all." Dante nodded slowly. 1 week. That night, Naomi lay awake in the giant bed with Lucia curled beside her. Through the door, she could hear footsteps in the hallway. She got up quietly and cracked the door open. Dante stood outside Lucia's side of the bed, just watching. His hands were in his pockets. His expression was unreadable. Then he whispered something Naomi almost didn't catch. "Isabella." He turned and walked away before Naomi could say anything. She closed the door and leaned against it, her heart pounding. Isabella. The name echoed in her mind. She didn't know who Isabella was, but something told her that name held the key to understanding the man who had just turned her entire world upside down. Morning came too soon. Naomi woke to sunlight streaming through the massive windows. Lucia was still asleep, her small body finally relaxed. Someone knocked softly. Mama Julia entered with a tray. "Breakfast," she said warmly. "The little one needs to eat." "Thank you," Naomi said. "You really don't have to." "I want to." Mama Julia set the tray on the side table. Then she looked at Naomi with knowing eyes. "He's a good man, you know, underneath all that armor." You don't have to explain, dear. I've been working in this house for 15 years. I know when someone needs a second chance." She patted Naomi's hand. "Give him 1 week. That's all I ask. 1 week to see if maybe things could be different." Before Naomi could respond, Mama Julia smiled and left. Lucia stirred. Her eyes opened, big and brown and curious. "Morning, baby," Naomi whispered. Lucia sat up slowly. She looked around the room, taking in the space, the light, the safety of it. Then she slid out of bed and walked to the window. Outside, the gardens stretched out green and endless, and standing near a fountain was Dante, talking on the phone. Lucia pressed her hand against the glass. She hummed that tune. And for the first time, Naomi saw her daughter smile. Breakfast was quiet. Naomi and Lucia sat in a dining room that could seat 20 people. Dante sat across from them, barely touching his food. Enzo stood near the door, watching. "You didn't have to feed us," Naomi said. "You're guests," Dante replied. "We're charity cases." His eyes flicked up. "You're not." Lucia reached for a piece of toast. Her small fingers trembled. Dante watched her like she was the most fragile thing in the world. "She doesn't talk," Naomi said. "Might as well get it out in the open." "She hasn't in 2 years." Dante's expression tightened. "Why?" "Because she's seen things a kid shouldn't see. Because the world hasn't been kind to her. Then the world owes her better." Naomi didn't know what to say to that. Lucia hummed again. Dante froze. "That song. She hums it all the time. I don't know where she learned it." "It's Italian," Dante said quietly. "My mother used to sing it to me." Naomi's breath caught. "Your mother? She died when I was 8. The air in the room changed. Lucia stopped humming. She stared at Dante. Then she slid out of her chair and walked over to him. Naomi started to stand. "Lucia, don't—" But Lucia didn't stop. She reached out and touched Dante's hand. His whole body went rigid. Lucia looked up at him. Then, slowly, she climbed into his lap. Naomi's heart stuttered. Dante didn't move. He looked terrified. Like holding this small child might break him. Lucia rested her head against his chest, and she hummed. Dante's hand came up, shaking, and rested gently on her back. Naomi watched, unable to breathe. For the first time in 7 years, she saw the man from that hotel bar, the one who had made her laugh, the one who had held her like she mattered, and she realized, with a sinking feeling in her chest, that leaving in a week was going to hurt a lot more than she thought. 3 days passed like a strange dream. Naomi didn't leave the estate. She told herself it was because Lucia needed stability, because the medicine was still working its way through her system, because 1 week wasn't up yet. But the truth was harder to admit. She was starting to feel safe. The feeling terrified her. Mama Julia taught her how to navigate the massive house, where the kitchen was, which rooms were off limits, how to avoid Enzo when he was in a bad mood. "He's protective," Mama Julia explained one morning while they folded laundry. "Dante saved his life years ago. Now he thinks everyone's a threat." "Maybe I am," Naomi said quietly. Mama Julia looked at her with those knowing eyes. "The only thing you threaten is the wall Dante built around his heart." Naomi didn't respond. She couldn't, because she'd seen that wall. Every time Dante looked at Lucia, she saw it crack a little more. On the 4th morning, Naomi found Lucia in the garden. She was supposed to be in the kitchen having breakfast, but when Naomi came downstairs, Mama Julia pointed toward the window. "She went outside with him," she said softly. Naomi's stomach tightened. She walked to the glass doors and looked out. Dante knelt in the grass near a fountain. Lucia stood beside him, watching something in his hands. Naomi opened the door and stepped outside. The morning air was cool. Birds sang in the trees. "Look," Dante was saying, his voice gentle. "You have to be slow, quiet, or you'll scare them away." Lucia leaned closer. In Dante's palm sat a butterfly. Its wings were orange and black, opening and closing slowly. "See?" Dante whispered. "Beautiful, right?" Lucia nodded. The butterfly lifted off, fluttering away into the garden. Lucia reached for Dante's hand. He took it without hesitation this time. Naomi felt her throat close up. She must have made a sound, because Dante turned. "She wanted to see the flowers," he said, standing slowly. "I hope that's okay." "It's fine," Naomi managed. Lucia ran over to a rose bush, humming her tune. Dante watched her. "She's brave. She has to be. No kid should have to be that brave." Naomi crossed her arms. "Well, the world doesn't care what kids should or shouldn't have to be." Dante looked at her then, really looked at her. "You're angry. I'm tired." "It's more than that." Naomi's jaw tightened. "You want to know what I'm angry about? Fine. I'm angry that you get to walk back into her life and play hero. I'm angry that you have all this—" She gestured at the estate. "While I've been scraping by for 7 years, I'm angry that she looks at you like you hung the moon when you don't even know her." Dante didn't flinch. "You're right." That stopped her. "I don't know her," he continued. "I don't know what she likes, what scares her, what makes her laugh. I don't know any of it." His voice dropped. "But I want to." "Why now? Why after all this time?" "Because I didn't know she existed until 3 days ago." He took a step closer. "If I had known—" "What? You would have come running? You would have given up this life and played house?" "I don't know," he admitted. "Maybe not. I was different then, colder. I'd just lost—" He stopped. "Isabella," Naomi said. Dante's whole body tensed. You said her name the other night. Standing outside our room. He turned away. I shouldn't have. Who was she? For a long moment Dante didn't answer. Then, quietly, my wife. The word hit Naomi like a punch. You were married. I was. He stared out at the garden. Isabella was pregnant. 8 months. We were going to name the baby Isabella too, after her mother. Naomi's anger drained away. What happened? Car bomb. Meant for me. His voice was flat, empty. They were going to the hospital for a checkup. I was supposed to go with them, but I had a meeting. I chose the meeting. Naomi's chest ached. Dante, she died instantly, they both did. 1 second they were here, the next. He trailed off. That was 9 years ago. The timeline clicked into place. 9 years since he lost his family. 8 years since he met Naomi. The night we met, Naomi said slowly. You were grieving. I was drowning. He finally looked at her. I went to that bar because I couldn't stand being in my own head anymore, and then you sat down next to me. And for a few hours I forgot. I forgot the pain, the guilt. I forgot that I was the reason they died. It wasn't your fault, wasn't it? His laugh was bitter. I'm Dante Moretti. I run the largest crime organization in Chicago. Everyone I touch ends up dead or damaged. I'm still here. You shouldn't be. But I am. Naomi took a step toward him. And so is your daughter. Dante's eyes went to Lucia, who was now sitting in the grass, examining a flower. When I saw her in that clinic, he said quietly, I knew. I don't know how. I just knew. She looks like Isabella, but she has your eyes, your smile. She doesn't smile much. She smiled yesterday, when I showed her the fountain. Naomi's heart squeezed. I'm not asking you to forgive me, Dante continued, for leaving, for not knowing, for any of it. I just want a chance to be better, for her, for both of you. Lucia looked up then. She held out the flower toward Dante. He walked over and knelt down, took the flower carefully. Thank you, he said softly. Lucia touched his face, just for a second. Then she went back to picking flowers. Naomi watched, her chest tight. This man was dangerous. She knew that. She'd seen him beat someone bloody without breaking a sweat. But when he looked at Lucia, he wasn't dangerous. He was just a father trying to make up for lost time. That afternoon, Enzo cornered Naomi in the hallway. We need to talk, he said. His tone made it clear this wasn't optional. They went into a small sitting room. Enzo closed the door. I don't know what your game is, he said bluntly, but you need to understand something. Dante has enemies, real ones, the kind that don't hesitate to hurt innocent people. I'm not trying to play any games. Maybe not. But you being here puts him at risk. That little girl puts him at risk. Naomi's anger flared. She's his daughter. Is she? Or is she just some kid you're using to get close to him? Naomi stood. How dare you? I dare because I've been cleaning up Dante's messes for 15 years. I've buried bodies. I've paid off cops. I've done things that would make your skin crawl. All to protect him. Enzo stepped closer. So forgive me if I don't trust some woman who shows up out of nowhere with a convenient sob story. It's not a sob story. It's my life. Then prove it. Stay away from him. He's the one who brought us here. And I'm telling you to leave before someone gets hurt. The door opened. Dante stood there, his expression dark. Enzo, outside, now. Enzo's jaw tightened, but he left. Dante followed him, closing the door behind them. Naomi could hear their voices through the wood, angry, harsh. She sank onto the couch, her hands shaking. Maybe Enzo was right. Maybe being here was a mistake. That night, Naomi packed their things. Not much. Just the few clothes Mama Julia had given them. The medicine for Lucia. She'd call a cab in the morning, find a shelter, figure something out. She always did. But when she zipped up the bag, she heard humming. Lucia stood in the doorway, her eyes wide. She looked at the bag, then at Naomi. Then she ran. Lucia, wait! Naomi chased her down the hallway. Lucia's small feet flew across the marble floors. She burst into another room. Dante's office, Naomi realized. Dante looked up from his desk, startled. Lucia ran straight to him and climbed into his lap. She wrapped her arms around his neck and held on tight. Naomi stopped in the doorway, breathless. What's wrong? Dante asked, his voice concerned. His arms came around Lucia instinctively. I was just... Naomi started. Lucia pulled back and looked at Dante. Her small hands came up. She signed something. Dante's eyes widened. You know sign language? Lucia nodded. What did she say? Naomi asked. Dante's voice was rough. She said, don't let Mama leave. Naomi's knees went weak. Lucia signed again, faster this time. Dante watched her hands. His expression shifted. Pain, understanding, something deeper. She says this is the first place she's felt safe, he translated. She doesn't want to go back to being scared. Tears burned Naomi's eyes. Baby, Lucia signed something else. Dante's breath caught. She called me Papa. The room went silent. Lucia looked between them, her eyes pleading. Dante's hand came up to cup her cheek. I'm not letting anyone hurt you. Either of you, I promise. Lucia leaned into his touch. Naomi felt something break inside her. All the walls she'd built, all the anger she'd held onto, all the pride that told her she didn't need anyone. It crumbled, because her daughter, her brave, silent daughter, had just asked for something Naomi had been too afraid to ask for. A home, a family, safety. Dante looked at Naomi over Lucia's head. Stay, please. Your friend doesn't want us here. Enzo's just protective. He'll come around. What if he's right? What if we put you in danger? I've been in danger my whole life. Dante's voice was steady. But this? Her? You? This is the first time in 9 years I felt like I have something worth protecting. Lucia yawned, her small body relaxing. Dante shifted her in his arms, cradling her like she was made of glass. Let me put her to bed, he said quietly. Naomi nodded, unable to speak. She followed them back to the guest room, watched as Dante gently laid Lucia down and pulled the blanket up to her chin. Lucia's hand caught his. She signed something small. Dante smiled, really smiled. Good night, little one. He kissed her forehead and stood. In the doorway, Naomi whispered, What did she say? Dante's eyes were bright. She said, I love you, Papa. They stood in the hallway, neither of them moving. I need to tell you something, Dante finally said. About that night we met. Naomi waited. I did want to stay. When I woke up and you were still there, still sleeping, I wanted to stay so badly it scared me. He ran a hand through his hair. But I'd made a promise to Isabella's memory, that I wouldn't let anyone else in, that I'd stay alone. It felt like betraying her to want someone else. So you left. I left. And I told myself it was the right thing to do. He looked at her. But when I saw Lucia in that clinic, when I realized what I'd walked away from, I knew I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. You can't just fix this with money and protection, Dante. That's not how it works. I know, but let me try. Give me more than a week. Give me a chance to prove I'm not the man who walked away. Naomi wanted to say no, wanted to protect herself, protect Lucia. But Lucia had already made her choice. Enzo is my problem, not yours. I'll handle him. And when your enemies find out about us, what then? Dante's expression hardened. Then they'll learn what happens when someone threatens my family. The word hung in the air. Family. Naomi felt tears slip down her cheeks. I'm scared. So am I. You don't look scared. I'm terrified, he admitted. Of failing her. Of failing you. Of losing you both before I even get to know you. Naomi wiped her face. 1 month. What? I'll give you 1 month. But if anything feels wrong, if Lucia is in any danger, we're gone. Dante nodded slowly. 1 month. He started to leave, then stopped. Naomi? Yeah? Thank you. For keeping her safe all these years. For being the parent I should have been. Her throat tightened. You're here now, that's what matters. He smiled, small and sad, and walked away. Naomi went back into the room and lay down next to Lucia. Her daughter slept peacefully, her face relaxed. For the first time in 7 years, Naomi let herself imagine what it might be like to stop running, to stay, to build something real. It was the most terrifying thought she'd ever had. The next morning, everything changed. Naomi woke to shouting downstairs. She got up quickly, checking on Lucia. Still asleep, she crept to the stairs. In the foyer, Dante stood facing a man Naomi had never seen before. He was older than Dante. Same dark hair, same strong build, but his eyes were colder. You can't be serious, the man was saying. A woman and a kid, you've lost your mind. Careful, Rico, Dante said, his voice dangerous. Rico. The name from the document flashed in Naomi's mind. Dante's half-brother. Dad left the business to you because you were supposed to be smart, Rico continued. Not because you'd throw it all away for some... Finish that sentence and I'll break your jaw. Rico laughed, but there was no humor in it. She's using you. Can't you see that? Some girl shows up with a kid and suddenly you're playing house. Wake up. Get out of my house. This is family business. You stopped being family when you tried to take what wasn't yours. Dante stepped closer. I won't warn you again. Rico's eyes narrowed. Then he looked up, straight at Naomi. His expression shifted, something cold and calculating. "So that's her," he said quietly. Dante turned, saw Naomi on the stairs. "Go back upstairs," he said, but Naomi couldn't move. Rico smiled. "She's pretty. The kid too, I bet." Dante moved so fast Naomi barely saw it. He had Rico against the wall, forearm across his throat. "If you so much as look at them again," Dante said, his voice deadly calm, "I will bury you where no one will ever find you, brother or not." Rico choked out a laugh. "You've already lost, Dante. You just don't know it yet." Dante released him. Rico straightened his jacket, still smiling. "I'll be seeing you." He walked out. Enzo appeared from a side hallway, his expression grim. "We need to move them." "What?" Naomi came down the stairs. "Move us where?" "Somewhere safe," Dante said. "Somewhere Rico can't find you." "I thought this place was safe." "It was." Dante's jaw tightened. "Pack your things. We're leaving in an hour." "Dante, please." He looked at her, and she saw real fear in his eyes. "Trust me, just this once." Naomi's heart pounded, but she nodded. She ran back upstairs and shook Lucia awake. "Baby, we have to go right now." Lucia's eyes went wide with fear. "It's okay," Naomi lied. "Papa's taking us somewhere safe." At the word, "Papa," Lucia relaxed slightly. They dressed quickly, grabbed their bag. Downstairs, Dante had changed into dark clothes. He had a gun at his hip. Mama Julia hugged them both. "You come back safe, you hear?" "We will," Dante promised. They got into the car, a different one this time. "Bulletproof," Enzo explained. Dante drove. Enzo sat in the passenger seat watching the mirrors. Lucia climbed into Naomi's lap, trembling. "Where are we going?" Naomi asked. "My villa upstate. It's remote, secure. Rico doesn't know about it." "Are you sure?" Dante's hands tightened on the wheel. "No, but it's the best option we have." They drove in silence for 20 minutes. Then Enzo swore. "We've got company." Naomi turned. Behind them, a black SUV was closing in fast. "Hold on," Dante said. The car lurched forward. Lucia buried her face in Naomi's chest. The SUV accelerated, pulling up alongside them. "Get down," Enzo shouted. Naomi ducked, covering Lucia with her body. Gunfire exploded. Glass shattered. Dante swerved hard. The SUV clipped their bumper. More gunfire. Dante's hand came off the wheel for just a second. He pulled his gun and fired back through the broken window. The SUV's tire exploded. It spun out, crashing into the guardrail. Dante didn't slow down. They drove for another 10 minutes before he finally pulled over on a deserted road. His hands were shaking. "Is everyone okay?" he asked, his voice rough. Naomi checked Lucia. "No injuries, just terrified." "We're okay." Dante got out of the car. He walked a few steps away, his back to them. Naomi saw his shoulders heave. She handed Lucia to Enzo, who looked uncomfortable, but took her carefully, and got out. "Dante." He didn't turn. "This is what I was afraid of," he said. "This is exactly what I was afraid of. We're alive, that's what matters. For now, but Rico knows about you. He'll come after you to get to me. Then we keep moving. We stay smart. You should leave." He finally turned. "Take Lucia and disappear. I'll give you money, new identities, whatever you need, and never see you again. It's safer." "For who? You?" Naomi stepped closer. "You think I'm going to run now after everything? I almost got you killed. You saved us again." Her voice cracked. "You keep saving us, Dante. When are you going to let us save you?" He stared at her like she'd just said something impossible. "Lucia needs you," Naomi said quietly. "I need you, and I think you need us too. So we're not going anywhere. We're going to that villa. We're going to figure this out. Together." Dante's eyes shone. "You don't know what you're asking for." "Yes, I do. I'm asking for a chance. The same chance you asked me for." For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Dante pulled her into his arms. He held her tight, his face buried in her hair. "I'm not losing you," he whispered. "I can't." "Then don't." They stood there, holding each other on the side of an empty road, and for the first time Naomi felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. The villa sat on top of a hill, surrounded by woods so thick you couldn't see another building for miles. It was smaller than the estate, quieter, the kind of place that felt hidden from the world. Dante parked the car in a garage built into the hillside. Enzo did a security sweep, while Naomi carried a sleeping Lucia inside. The interior was warm, wood floors, stone fireplace, windows that overlooked a valley, simple furniture that looked comfortable rather than expensive. "The guest room's upstairs," Dante said, leading the way. First door on the right. The room was cozy. A double bed with a thick quilt, soft lighting, a window seat that looked out over the trees. Naomi laid Lucia down and pulled off her shoes. Her daughter didn't even stir. She's exhausted, Dante said from the doorway. She's traumatized. Naomi's voice was flat. She just lived through a car chase with gunfire. I know. Do you? Because this is what her life was like before you found us. Running, hiding, being scared. I worked so hard to get away from that, and now you're right back in it. Dante's jaw tightened. Because of me. Naomi turned to face him. I'm not blaming you. You should. What good would that do? She was so tired, bone-deep tired. We're here. We're alive. That's all that matters right now. Dante looked at Lucia, sleeping peacefully despite everything. She deserves better. She deserves a father. That's you. I don't know how to be that. Neither did I when she was born. Naomi sat on the edge of the bed. I was 24, broke and alone. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I learned. You will too. Dante stepped into the room. Can I ask you something? Okay. Why didn't you try to find me after you found out you were pregnant? The question hung in the air. Naomi took a breath. Because I didn't know your last name. I didn't know where you worked or where you lived. All I knew was your first name and that you had sad eyes. You could have what? Hired a private investigator I couldn't afford, put up flyers around Chicago. She shook her head. I was working 2 jobs and sleeping on my friend's couch. Finding you wasn't exactly at the top of my survival list. Dante was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry. You shouldn't have had to do that alone. But I did, and I survived. We both did. Barely. Barely is still surviving. He sat on the window seat, looking out at the darkening sky. When Isabella died, I shut down, stopped feeling anything. It was easier that way, safer. Naomi listened. Then I saw Lucia in that clinic, and everything came rushing back. The grief, the guilt, but also something I hadn't felt in years. What? Hope. He looked at her. That maybe I could have another chance. That maybe I wasn't too broken to be someone's father. You're not broken. I've killed people, Naomi. I've given orders that destroyed families. I run an organization built on violence and fear. And yet you knelt in the grass to show a little girl a butterfly. Dante's expression cracked. You're not just one thing, Naomi continued softly. None of us are. You're the man who walked away, but you're also the man who came back. Both can be true. I don't deserve forgiveness. Maybe not, but Lucia's already forgiven you. She called you Papa, remember? Dante's eyes grew wet. He looked away quickly. Naomi stood and walked to the door. Get some rest. Tomorrow we'll figure out what comes next. Naomi? She turned. Thank you, he said quietly, for giving me this chance. She nodded and left, closing the door behind her. In the hallway, she leaned against the wall and tried to steady her breathing. Everything was happening so fast. 3 days ago, she didn't even know Dante's last name. Now she was hiding in his secret villa. Her daughter was calling him Papa, and people were shooting at them. It was too much. But when she thought about leaving, about taking Lucia and disappearing, her chest ached, because somewhere in the chaos, something had shifted. She didn't just need Dante for protection anymore. She was starting to want him for other reasons, reasons that terrified her. That night, Naomi woke to screaming. She bolted upright, heart racing. Lucia. She ran to the bed, but Lucia was still asleep. The screaming wasn't coming from her. It was coming from down the hall. Naomi grabbed the robe Mama Julia had packed and hurried out. Dante's door was closed, but she could hear him through it. Broken words, gasping breaths. She knocked. Dante? No answer. Just more anguished sounds. She opened the door. Dante thrashed on the bed, tangled in sheets. Sweat covered his face. No! He gasped. No, please! Isabella! Naomi rushed over. Dante, wake up. It's a dream. He didn't hear her. She grabbed his shoulders and shook him. Dante! His eyes snapped open. Wild, terrified. For a second he didn't recognize her. Then reality crashed back. He sat up, breathing hard. God, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. It's okay. Naomi sat on the edge of the bed. Nightmare? He nodded, running shaking hands through his hair. I haven't had one that bad in years. What was it about? The bomb. I always see it too late. I'm running, trying to reach the car, but I never make it in time. I just watch it explode over and over. Naomi's heart broke for him. The doctors said it was PTSD, gave me pills. They didn't help. What does help? Dante looked at her, and there was something raw in his expression. Honestly? Nothing. I just wait for it to pass. That sounds lonely. It is. Naomi reached out and took his hand. His fingers were still trembling. You don't have to be alone anymore, she said quietly. Dante stared at their joined hands. I don't know how to do this, any of this. Do what? Let people in. Care about something other than survival. He looked up at her. You scare me. I scare you? You and Lucia both. Because I care. And caring means I can lose you. And I don't think I'd survive that again. Naomi squeezed his hand. You're not going to lose us. You don't know that. No. But I'm choosing to believe it anyway. She smiled softly. That's what hope is. Choosing to believe even when you're scared. Dante's thumb traced circles on her palm. When did you get so wise? When I became a mum. You learn fast when someone's depending on you. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Dante said, Tell me about her. About Lucia. I want to know everything. So Naomi told him. About the pregnancy. How scared she'd been. How she'd worked until the day she went into labor because she couldn't afford to stop. About Lucia's birth. Alone in a hospital with nurses who barely looked at her. How she'd held her daughter for the first time and promised to give her a better life. About the first few years. The sleepless nights. The constant worry about money. About food. About keeping the lights on. About the boyfriend who seemed nice at first but turned mean. How he'd thrown that plate. How Lucia had stopped talking that very night. About the years since. Working 3 jobs. Moving apartments whenever the rent got too high. Watching her daughter retreat further into silence. Dante listened to all of it, his expression growing darker with each word. I should have been there, he said when she finished. You didn't know. I should have stayed. That morning. I should have asked for your number. I should have... Stop! Naomi touched his face, making him look at her. You can't change the past. None of us can. All we can do is make better choices now. What if I make the wrong choices? Then we'll figure it out. Together. Dante leaned into her touch. I haven't let anyone see me like this in years, broken, scared. You're not broken. You're human. In my world, being human gets you killed. Good thing you're not in that world right now. You're here, with us, and we're not going anywhere. Dante's hand came up to cover hers. Stay, please, just for tonight. I don't want to be alone. Naomi should have said no, should have gone back to her room, to Lucia, but the look in his eyes stopped her. Okay, she whispered. She lay down beside him on top of the covers. He stayed where he was, leaving space between them. But their hands stayed connected, and somehow that was enough. Morning came with sunlight and the smell of coffee. Naomi woke alone in Dante's bed. She could hear voices downstairs. She got up quickly and went to check on Lucia. Empty. Her heart jumped into her throat. She ran downstairs. In the kitchen, Dante stood at the stove, flipping pancakes. Lucia sat at the counter watching him with fascination. Enzo leaned against the doorway looking exhausted. Good morning, Dante said when he saw Naomi. I hope you don't mind. Lucia woke up hungry. Naomi sagged with relief. I mind you giving me a heart attack. Sorry, I should have left a note. Lucia waved at her mother, then pointed at the pancakes. Dante plated one and set it in front of her. Careful, it's hot. Lucia nodded solemnly. Naomi sat beside her daughter. You okay, baby? Lucia nodded again. She looked relaxed, happy even. She's been teaching me sign language, Dante said. I know 3 words now. Which ones? Hello, thank you, and Papa. Naomi's chest tightened. Lucia signed something to Dante. He smiled. She wants to know if you want chocolate chips in your pancakes. She's very concerned about breakfast preferences, Enzo muttered. Dante shot him a look. Did you sleep? Someone had to keep watch. Go rest. I'll take the next shift. Enzo hesitated, then nodded and left. Dante poured more batter onto the griddle. I talked to my contacts this morning. Rico's gone underground. We can't find him. Naomi's stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means he's planning something and we need to be ready. How do we get ready for something we can't see coming? We stay alert. We stay together. He flipped the pancake. And we make sure Lucia knows she's safe, no matter what. Lucia was humming again, her small legs swinging under the counter. She signed something to Dante. His expression softened. She says the pancakes are good. What did you put in them? Love, he said simply. Naomi blinked. What? That's what my mother used to say. When I asked what made her cooking special, she'd say she put love in everything. He smiled sadly. I never understood it until now. Lucia reached for his hand. He took it, squeezing gently. Naomi watched them together. and felt something shift in her chest. This was what Lucia had needed all along. Not just safety, not just food and shelter, but this. A father who looked at her like she was the most important thing in the world. "Can I ask you something?" Naomi said. Dante looked at her. "Anything. What happens when this is over? When Rico's dealt with and we're safe again? What do you want to happen?" "I don't know. That's why I'm asking." Dante turned off the stove and came around the counter. He sat beside her, close enough that their knees touched. "I want you to stay," he said quietly. "Both of you. Not just for safety. Not just because Lucia's my daughter, but because I'm starting to feel like myself again, for the first time in 9 years. Dante, you don't have to answer now. I just wanted you to know. Lucia signed something." "What did she say?" Naomi asked. Dante smiled. "She said we should all live together forever." Naomi's throat closed up. Lucia nodded emphatically, signing more. "She says we can get a dog and plant flowers and have pancakes every Sunday." Tears spilled down Naomi's cheeks. Lucia's face crumpled. She signed frantically. "She wants to know why you're crying," Dante translated. Naomi pulled Lucia into a hug. "Because I'm happy, baby. So happy." Lucia relaxed. She signed something else. Dante laughed. A real laugh. "She says good because she's happy too." Naomi looked at him over Lucia's head. "Is this real or am I dreaming?" "If you are, I'm having the same dream." They stayed like that for a while, the three of them in the quiet kitchen, wrapped in something that felt like peace. Then Dante's phone rang. His expression changed immediately. "It's Enzo," he answered. Listened. His face went hard. "When?" A pause. "How many?" Another pause. "Understood." He hung up. "What is it?" Naomi asked, already knowing she didn't want to hear the answer. "Rico found us. He's on his way here with at least 6 men. Naomi's blood ran cold. "How long do we have?" 20 minutes, maybe less." Lucia sensed the tension. She grabbed Naomi's arm, eyes wide. "It's okay," Naomi lied. "We're going to be fine." But she didn't believe it, and neither did Dante. 15 minutes later, they were in the villa's basement. It was finished. A full living space with a bathroom, small kitchen, and reinforced walls. "This is a panic room," Dante explained. "Steel door, no windows. If they get inside, they won't be able to break in here." "If?" Naomi repeated. "I'm not letting them get inside." He was loading weapons, checking ammunition, moving with the efficiency of someone who'd done this 100 times. Enzo appeared at the top of the stairs. "They're coming up the access road. 3 vehicles." Dante nodded. "Get in position." Enzo disappeared. Dante turned to Naomi. "Lock this door behind me. Don't open it for anyone except me or Enzo. If something goes wrong, nothing's going wrong. If something goes wrong," he continued firmly, "there's a tunnel. Behind that bookshelf, it leads half a mile into the woods. There's a car waiting with keys in the ignition. You take Lucia, and you run. Don't look back. Don't wait for me. Dante, promise me." His hands gripped her shoulders. "Promise me you'll protect her. What about you?" "I'll be fine, this is what I do, but I need to know you're safe, both of you." Lucia signed something, her small face serious. Dante knelt down to her level. "I have to go keep the bad men away, but I'll come back, I promise." Lucia signed again. He smiled sadly. "I love you too, sweetheart." He kissed her forehead, then stood. His eyes met Naomi's. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Dante pulled her close and kissed her. It was desperate, fierce, full of all the words they hadn't said. When he pulled back, his voice was rough. "I'm not losing you, not now." "Then don't die. Not planning on it." He turned and went up the stairs. The steel door closed between them, with a heavy thunk. Naomi threw the lock. Then she sank to the floor and pulled Lucia into her arms. Above them she heard footsteps, shouting, the crash of breaking glass. Then gunfire. Lucia buried her face in Naomi's chest. Naomi held her daughter and prayed to a God she wasn't sure she believed in. "Please, please let him come back to us." The gunfire continued, loud, constant, too close, more shouting, a scream. Lucia was shaking. "It's okay," Naomi whispered. "Papa's going to be okay, he promised." But promises didn't stop bullets. The sounds of fighting seemed to go on forever. Then, suddenly, silence. Naomi's heart pounded. She waited. 1 minute, 2, 5. Someone tried the door handle. Lucia whimpered. "Naomi!" Dante's voice. "It's me, open up." She scrambled to her feet and threw open the lock. Dante stood there, covered in blood. His shirt was torn. A cut above his eye dripped red, but he was alive. "Is it yours?" Naomi asked, pointing at the blood. "Some of it." He swayed slightly. "We need to go. Now." More could be coming. Enzo appeared behind him, also bloodied but moving. "Cars ready." Naomi grabbed Lucia and followed them up the stairs. The villa was destroyed. Bullet holes in the walls, broken furniture, bodies on the floor that Naomi tried not to look at. Outside, the night air was cold and sharp. Enzo opened the car door. "Get in." Naomi climbed in with Lucia. Dante slid in beside them. Enzo drove, fast and focused. No one spoke. Lucia signed something. "She wants to know if you're hurt," Naomi translated. Dante looked down at his daughter. "Just a little. Nothing that won't heal." Lucia touched his face gently. Dante's expression crumbled. "I'm sorry you had to hear that. You should never have to be scared like that." Lucia shook her head. She signed something else. Dante looked at Naomi. "What did she say?" Naomi's vision blurred with tears. "She said you're brave. Her brave papa." Dante pulled Lucia into his arms and held her tight. They drove through the night, leaving the violence and death behind. But Naomi knew it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Rico was still out there, and he wasn't going to stop. They drove until sunrise painted the sky pink and gold. Enzo pulled into a motel on the outskirts of a small town, the kind of place that didn't ask questions if you paid cash. "Wait here," Enzo said, getting out. Naomi watched him go inside. Lucia had fallen asleep an hour ago, curled against Dante's chest. Dante hadn't moved, just held her, staring out the window like he was seeing ghosts. "Let me look at your injuries," Naomi said softly. "I'm fine. You're bleeding through your shirt." He glanced down like he'd forgotten. "It's not deep." "Let me be the judge of that," Enzo returned with a key. "Room 12, around back." The room was small but clean. 2 beds, a bathroom, heavy curtains that blocked out the world. Naomi laid Lucia on one bed and covered her with a blanket. Then she turned to Dante. "Sit," she ordered. He obeyed, sinking onto the other bed. Naomi went to the bathroom and came back with wet towels. She knelt in front of him and started cleaning the blood from his face. The cut above his eye wasn't as bad as it looked. She pressed a towel against it. "Hold that." Dante held the towel while she examined the rest of him. His knuckles were split. His ribs were bruised, probably cracked. "Shirt off," she said. "Naomi, don't argue with me right now." He pulled off his ruined shirt. There were scars everywhere, old ones, new ones. A map of violence written on his skin. Naomi's hands trembled as she cleaned a gash on his shoulder. "You could have died," she whispered. "But I didn't. You could have, for us. You almost died protecting us. And I'd do it again." His hand caught hers. Every time, without hesitation, Naomi looked at him, really looked at him. This dangerous man, this killer, this mafia boss who ran an empire built on fear. He was also the man who made pancakes for her daughter, who held Lucia like she was made of glass, who looked at Naomi like she was something precious. "I don't know how to do this," she said. "Do what?" "Care about you, want you, need you." Her voice cracked. "I spent 7 years teaching myself not to need anyone. And now you're scared, terrified." Dante pulled her closer, until she was standing between his knees. "I'm scared too. I'm scared I'll mess this up, that I'll fail you both. That something will happen and I won't be fast enough, strong enough." Naomi pressed her fingers to his lips. "Stop. Naomi, we're alive, all of us. That's what matters." She touched his face, tracing the scar on his temple. "You saved us. Again. When are you going to accept that you're not the villain in this story? I've done terrible things. So have I. I've stolen food when Lucia was hungry. I've lied on job applications. She took a breath. "I've wished terrible things on people who hurt us. Does that make me a villain? That's different. Is it? Or are we both just people trying to survive in a world that's cruel and unfair?" Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "When I saw Rico's men coming for the villa, all I could think was, not again. I couldn't lose another family. I couldn't watch another person I love die because of me." The word hung in the air. Love. Naomi's breath caught. Dante realized what he'd said. His eyes widened. "I didn't mean, I'm not saying—" Naomi kissed him. It was soft this time, gentle, not desperate like before. When she pulled back, Dante's eyes were closed. "I'm falling for you," she whispered. "I don't want to be. It's too fast, too complicated, too dangerous. But I am." Dante opened his eyes. "You shouldn't. Probably not. But since when do hearts listen to logic? A small sound made them both turn. Lucia sat up in bed, rubbing her eyes. She looked at them and smiled. Then she signed something. Dante laughed quietly. She wants to know if we're done being silly so we can have breakfast. Naomi wiped her eyes. Yes, baby, we're done. Lucia signed something else. What did she say? Naomi asked. Dante's expression softened. She said she likes it when we're together. It makes her feel safe. Naomi's heart squeezed. Lucia climbed out of bed and walked over to them. She took both their hands and put them together. Then she signed again. Family, Dante translated, his voice rough. She says we're a family now. Naomi couldn't hold back the tears anymore. Lucia hugged them both, her small arms barely reaching around them. Dante looked at Naomi over their daughter's head. Is this real? I think so. Good, because I don't ever want to wake up. 3 hours later, Enzo knocked on the door. We've got a problem, he said. They'd sent Lucia to watch cartoons on the TV while the adults talked. Rico's put out word, Enzo continued. $1 million for information leading to your location. Every criminal in Chicago is looking for you now. Dante's jaw tightened. How long before someone finds us? A day. Maybe 2 if we're lucky. So we keep moving. That's not a long-term solution, Enzo said. Eventually someone will get lucky, or you'll slip up, or... Then what do you suggest? Enzo glanced at Naomi, then back at Dante. End this. Go after Rico directly. I tried that. He's too well protected. So we find his weakness. Everyone has one. Dante ran a hand through his hair. His weakness is power, control. He wants what I have. Then give it to him, Naomi said quietly. Both men turned to stare at her. What? Dante asked. Give him what he wants, or make him think you're going to. Naomi stood. You said Rico wants your position, right? Your empire? Yes, but... So set a meeting. Tell him you're willing to negotiate. That you'll step down if he leaves us alone. He won't believe it. He will if you make it convincing enough. Naomi crossed her arms. Men like Rico, they think they're smarter than everyone else. They think they've already won. Use that against him. Enzo stared at her. That's actually not a bad idea. It's dangerous, Dante said. Everything about this situation is dangerous. Naomi looked at him. But sitting here waiting for him to find us, that's not a plan. That's just delaying the inevitable. Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to Enzo. Make the call. Set up a meeting. Where? Neutral ground. The old warehouse on 5th Street. Tomorrow night. Enzo nodded and pulled out his phone. Dante looked at Naomi. You and Lucia stay here with guards. No. Naomi? No, she repeated firmly. You're not doing this alone. If Rico sees me and Lucia, if he sees what you're willing to give up for us, it makes the whole thing more believable. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. Everything is too dangerous. But we're in this together now. You said it yourself. We're a family, and families don't let each other walk into danger alone. Dante looked like he wanted to argue, but something in her expression stopped him. Fine, he said finally, but you stay in the car with guards. You don't come inside. And if anything goes wrong, you drive away and don't look back. Deal. Lucia appeared in the doorway. She signed something, her expression worried. She wants to know if we're fighting, Dante said. Naomi knelt down. No, baby. We're just figuring things out. Lucia didn't look convinced. Dante knelt beside Naomi. Tomorrow night we're going to meet with someone. A bad man, but we're going to make sure he can't hurt us anymore. Okay? Lucia signed something. She's asking if it's dangerous, Dante translated. A little bit, he admitted. But I promise you I will keep you and your mama safe, no matter what. Lucia threw her arms around his neck. Dante held her tight, his eyes closed. Over Lucia's head, Naomi saw Enzo watching. His expression had changed, less suspicious, more accepting, maybe even respectful. You're good for him, Enzo said quietly. Both of you. I haven't seen him like this in years. Like what? Human. The next day moved too slowly and too fast at the same time. Naomi tried to keep things normal for Lucia. They watched TV, played simple games with a deck of cards Enzo found in the car. But underneath everything was the knowledge of what was coming. That night, as the sun set, Dante changed into a suit. Dark and expensive, the kind that made him look every inch the powerful man he was. Naomi dressed carefully, too. Simple black dress, flats in case she needed to run. Lucia wore the nicest outfit they had, a small dress Mama Julia had packed. You look beautiful, Dante told Lucia, signing as he spoke. Lucia beamed. In the car, The tension was thick. Enzo drove. 2 other cars followed. Guards Enzo had called in. "Remember the plan," Dante said. "You stay in the car, engine running. If shooting starts, you drive away." "I remember." "Naomi, I'm serious." "I know." She took his hand. "I'll protect her, I promise." Dante nodded. He looked at Lucia, who sat between them, unusually quiet. "You okay, sweetheart?" he asked. Lucia nodded, but her hands were shaking. Dante pulled her onto his lap. "It's going to be okay, I promise." Lucia signed something. "She says she's scared you won't come back," Naomi translated, her throat tight. Dante's arms tightened around Lucia. "I will always come back to you, both of you. Nothing could keep me away." Lucia buried her face in his chest. They drove in silence the rest of the way. The warehouse loomed against the night sky like a dark monument. Enzo parked 50 yards away in the shadows. The other cars spread out, hidden. Inside the warehouse, lights were on. Naomi could see figures moving. "He's here," Enzo said, "with at least 8 men. "Expected," Dante said. He looked at Naomi. "Lock the doors after I leave. Don't open them for anyone but me. Be careful, always." He kissed Lucia's head, then looked at Naomi. For a moment, she thought he might kiss her too. Instead, he touched her face gently. "If something happens, nothing's going to happen. But if it does, there's a safe deposit box. Number 447 at First National Bank. The key is in my desk at the estate. Everything you and Lucia need is in there. Money, documents, new identities if you need them. Dante, promise me you'll use it if you have to." Naomi's eyes burned. "I promise." He nodded and got out of the car. Enzo went with him. Naomi locked the doors and pulled Lucia close. Through the windshield, she watched Dante walk toward the warehouse, his back straight, his stride confident. He looked fearless, but Naomi knew better. He was terrified, just like she was. They disappeared inside. Lucia's small hand gripped Naomi's arm. "It's okay," Naomi whispered. "Papa's strong. He'll be fine." But her heart pounded so hard, she thought it might break through her ribs. Minutes passed like hours. Then she heard it, shouting, from inside the warehouse. More shouting. A gunshot. "No," Naomi breathed. "More gunshots. Rapid fire." Lucia screamed, actually screamed, her voice raw and terrified. "Mama! Papa!" The first word she'd spoken in 2 years, cut through Naomi like a knife. "Baby, it's okay. Papa!" The warehouse door exploded open. Men poured out, shooting at each other. Naomi saw Enzo go down, saw Dante duck behind a car, returning fire. Then she saw Rico. He was heading for a different car, running, getting away. Something in Naomi snapped. She unlocked the car door. "Mama, no!" Lucia grabbed her arm. "Stay here, don't move." Naomi got out and ran. She didn't know what she was doing, didn't have a plan. She just knew Rico couldn't get away. Not again. He reached his car, opened the door. "Hey!" Naomi shouted. Rico turned. His eyes widened with recognition. Then he smiled. He raised his gun. Naomi froze. Time slowed down. She thought of Lucia, alone in the car, watching. She thought of Dante, who'd finally opened his heart again. She thought, this is how it ends. Then Dante appeared. He slammed into Rico from the side, knocking him down. The gun went off, the bullet hitting nothing but air. They fought, brutal and vicious. Rico was strong, but Dante was stronger, faster, more desperate. He pinned Rico to the ground, hands around his throat. "You threatened my family," Dante said, his voice cold. "You came after my daughter." "My—" He looked at Naomi. "Mine." Rico choked out a laugh. "You've already lost, brother. You just don't see it yet. No, you lost. The moment you made this personal." Dante's hands tightened. Rico's eyes went wide, then empty. Dante let go and stood. Around them, the shooting had stopped. Enzo was on his feet, wounded but alive. Rico's men were either dead or had run. It was over. Dante turned to Naomi. "You were supposed to stay in the car. He was getting away. You could have died. So could you." Naomi's voice broke. "You think I could just sit there and watch?" Dante crossed to her in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. He was shaking. So was she. "Don't ever do that again," he whispered into her hair. "Please. I can't lose you." "Then stop almost dying." He laughed, a broken, relieved sound. Behind them, a small voice called out, "Papa! Mama!" They turned. Lucia stood beside the car, her face wet with tears. But she was speaking. "Papa!" she said again, her voice small and scared. "Are you okay?" Dante dropped to his knees as Lucia ran to him. She crashed into his chest, sobbing. "I'm okay, sweetheart. I'm okay." He held her tight. "You're talking. Oh my God, you're talking." "I was so scared," Lucia sobbed. I thought he was going to take you away, like the bad man who made me stop talking. No one's taking me away. I promise. I'm right here." Dante pulled back to look at her. "And I'm never leaving. Ever. Do you understand?" Lucia nodded, tears streaming down her face. Naomi knelt beside them, wrapping her arms around them both. They held each other in the shadow of violence and death, but for the first time in any of their lives, they weren't alone. They were together, a family, 6 weeks later. Naomi stood in the garden of Dante's estate, watching Lucia play with the new puppy. The little dog, a golden retriever Lucia had named Sunshine, ran in circles while Lucia laughed. That beautiful sound that Naomi had missed for 2 years, now she heard it every day. "She's happy," a voice said behind her. Naomi turned. Dante walked toward her, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He handed her one. "Mama Julia made it. She says you need to eat more." "Mama Julia says everyone needs to eat more." Dante smiled. He looked different now, lighter. The darkness that used to cloud his eyes had lifted. "Enzo's officially retired," he said, "moving to Florida. He says he's too old for this life. What are you going to do?" "I've been thinking about that." Dante watched Lucia play. "About what you said, about not being just one thing. And I'm stepping back, letting my lieutenants handle the day-to-day operations, cleaning up the business, making it legitimate where I can, cutting ties where I can't." Naomi looked at him. "That's a big change." "It is, but I have something more important to focus on now." He turned to her. "A family. If that's what you want." Naomi's heart raced. "What are you asking?" Dante set down his coffee and took her hand. "I'm asking if you'll stay. Not because you have to, not because it's safe, but because you want to. Because we're building something here. Something real." "Dante, I love you, Naomi. I know it's fast. I know we've been through hell to get here, but I've never been more sure of anything." His eyes were intense, honest. "You and Lucia, you saved me. You brought me back to life. And I want to spend the rest of my life proving that you didn't make a mistake." Tears blurred Naomi's vision. "You love me? More than I thought I could love anyone again." "I love you too," she whispered. "I tried not to, but I do." Dante cupped her face and kissed her. It was soft and sweet and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Lucia was standing there, grinning. "Are you kissing?" she asked, her voice bright with mischief. "Maybe," Dante said, smiling. "Good. Mama Julia says you should kiss more. She says it's about time." Naomi laughed. "Does she now?" Lucia nodded seriously. "She also says we should all live here forever. Can we, Mama? Please?" Naomi looked at Dante, then at her daughter, then at the garden, the house, this life they'd somehow built from nothing. "Yes," she said, "we can." Lucia squealed and ran to hug them both. Sunshine barked and jumped around them, caught up in the joy. Dante wrapped his arms around both of them. "Thank you," he whispered to Naomi. "For what?" "For giving me a second chance. For seeing past the monster to the man underneath. You were never a monster, just someone who forgot how to hope. And you reminded me." They stood there together as the sun set over the estate, painting everything gold. A mafia boss who'd learned to love again, a single mother who'd learned to trust, and a little girl who'd found her voice and her father all at once. 3 broken people who'd somehow become whole. 1 year later, the music box played that old Italian tune. Naomi sat in the garden, one hand resting on her swollen belly, 7 months pregnant. A boy this time, according to the doctors. Lucia sat beside her, reading aloud from a book. Her voice was clear and confident now, all traces of her silence gone. "Mama, is the baby going to like puppies?" she asked. "I think so, especially with Sunshine around." "Good, because I'm going to teach him everything." Dante appeared from the house carrying a tray. "Lunch," he announced, "courtesy of Mama Julia, who insists pregnant women need to eat 5 times a day." "She's not wrong," Naomi said, taking a sandwich gratefully. Dante sat beside her, his hand joining hers on her belly. "He's active today. Tell me about it. He's been kicking all morning." Lucia leaned close to Naomi's stomach. "Hi, baby brother. It's me, Lucia, your big sister. I can't wait to meet you." The baby kicked as if in response. Lucia's eyes went wide. "He heard me. He knows your voice already," Dante said, "just like he knows ours." They sat together in the warm afternoon sun. The estate was different now, less cold, more alive. Dante had been true to his word. The business was mostly legitimate now. Security consulting, property management, legal ventures that didn't require violence or fear. There were still threats sometimes. Old enemies who didn't know when to quit, but they faced them together. "I've been thinking," Dante said. "About?" Naomi asked. "About getting married." Naomi's heart skipped. "Is that a proposal?" "Would you say yes if it was?" She pretended to think. "Depends on how you ask." Dante stood and knelt in front of her. From his pocket he pulled a small box. Inside was a ring, simple and beautiful, a single diamond that caught the light. Lucia gasped. "Mama, he's proposing." "I see that, baby." Dante took Naomi's hand. "Naomi Blake, you came into my life when I'd given up on living. You gave me a daughter I never knew I needed. You showed me that I could be more than my past, more than my mistakes." His voice was thick with emotion. "Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life loving you and our children and building the family we all deserve?" Naomi's tears spilled over. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Dante slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her. Lucia cheered. Sunshine barked. From the house, Mama Julia appeared clapping. "Finally, I thought I'd have to propose for him." Everyone laughed. Dante pulled Naomi to her feet, carefully, mindful of her belly, and spun her around. "We're getting married," Lucia announced to anyone who would listen. "Mama and Papa are getting married." As Naomi looked around at these people, her family, she felt something she'd never really felt before. Complete peace. For 7 years, she'd been running, fighting, barely surviving. Now she was home, they all were. "What are you thinking?" Dante asked softly. Naomi smiled up at him. "That I'm the luckiest woman in the world. I'm the lucky one." "We're all lucky," Lucia chimed in. "Because we have each other." She was right. They'd all been broken in different ways, lost alone, hurting. But together, they'd found something that made them whole. Love, family, hope. And as the music box continued to play that sweet Italian melody, Naomi closed her eyes and let herself believe in the future. A future full of Sunday pancakes and garden walks and children's laughter. A future where the past didn't define them, where second chances were real, where a mafia boss could become a devoted father, where a single mother could find her happy ending, where a silent little girl could find her voice, and where love, real, true, lasting love, could heal even the deepest wounds. The music box wound down, the last notes hanging in the air. Then Lucia started humming, that same tune, the one that had connected them all from the very beginning. Dante joined in, his voice low and warm. And finally Naomi added hers. 3 voices, 1 family, 1 song. Together, the end